This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello!
Our good friend Richard is here again with us today.
Hi.
Hello!
Yay! Yay, we're so happy that you're here with us, Richard. We're so happy about that. Yeah. I had the pleasure of having a conversation with you yesterday, and you said some things that really got me thinking, and I thought I practically begged you to come on the podcast again. And I wanted to talk about, because what you had talked about was that your company had closed down because of COVID, and
Yes.
now you have temp. I said temp. You have temp jobs.
Say that again?
Yeah, seriously, that's what I say. Easy for you to say. Yeah, and what I was curious about is that when you do that, that means that you more often than normal are put in a situation where you start in a new environment with new people, with new personalities and new rules, new expectations. So
I know for me that'd be stressful.
yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, this whole last year has been pretty stressful. I know that I'm better off than a lot of people have been.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife is actually making her business is doing good. So financially, we've been doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been, since, I'm looking for full-time work. I've taken some temporary stuff. So I've actually done retail again.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some stocking, and then I went into an accounting position and did macros. I did, some spreadsheets, and so helped them out for about a week. But it's been a crazy time lately.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you do, right? That's what you prefer to do, is to work in accounting.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you went to college for? Or is that
No.
where you that's where you landed? As soon as that came out of my mouth, I remember that no, you didn't go to school for that, but that's where you landed, and it's you're really good at it. You just kind of have
Yeah.
Right.
That's more or less where I landed. I mean, my life, it kind of gets all over the place sometimes. I've done all sorts of different things.
Mm-hmm.
However, I appreciate this because, again, numbers don't lie in a sense. It's either goes down to zero or it doesn't. Why? And there's a reason why it doesn't. There's usually like someone messed up, or something was added together wrong, or subtracted wrong,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
something
it's
was missed.
very literal.
Right.
Yeah. Very
Right.
tangible.
Yes.
Yes.
Josh
Yes.
is shaking his head yes the whole time that you're talking about that, because Josh has said before the words, "I want to be in charge of things, not people."
Yes.
Yeah.
And right, because you can count on things. You can count on numbers for always being what they are. Right, Richard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for imaginary numbers. They're just weird.
Yes, true.
Well, and so are we. So.
Yep. The thing that I wanted to ask you about, because I know that when I get you on the phone, I'm so happy every time I get to have a conversation with you, and I love it because I have like sometimes a small question, and then you are so you share such a wealth of knowledge, and you take us in other areas other than just what I'm asking you about. So please feel free to take us wherever you'd like to.
Okay.
But a question where I wanted to start is that the idea of working. I mean, that's a stressful endeavor for anybody that's on the spectrum, and there's all those nuances and those interactions that will sometimes throw you off, right?
Right.
And so, do you find it easier? I should ask you this first. Are you working remotely at this time, or do you go, if it's retail, I know that you're going into the job, right?
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to stay out of retail. I did that for a little bit of extra money during the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked there for about a couple of months, and I think they really want to be there, but, they made some cutbacks, and, again, it's been crazy financially for everyone, and
right.
I think that everyone's just trying to figure out their own budget,
right,
without going under.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been kind of where I was at, and they couldn't keep me. They really wanted to, but they couldn't keep me.
Mm-hmm. And when you do retail, are you working with the customers, or are you doing accounting for their company?
I just working with customers. So with that one, I was doing some stocking.
Mm-hmm.
I could have easily managed the place,
Mm-hmm.
so
yeah.
I could have been assistant manager, but so it was really just a lot of grunt work in a sense of just stocking shelves and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And was that, so what I'm wondering about specifically is anything that you want to share about different kind of jobs and how you maneuver through them and through the dynamics of just working in general present. But how do you, for most people, going into the unknown is very stressful, and it can even feel scary, and it can create anxiety. And so that when you, what experience do you have as somebody that's on the spectrum? Josh has talked a bit about this before, when he goes into new situations, that it will, he's nervous that he's going to make a mistake, and he's nervous that he's not going to remember what he's been told, and so there's all kinds of things racing around.
Yeah.
I'm speaking for you.
Yeah.
I can stop and you can say it.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's all those things happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I've been lucky enough that I've been able to start a job while looking at it idealistically.
What does that mean for you?
Meaning I go into it with high expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and I try and see the good of things,
Mm-hmm.
like the benefits of it,
Mm-hmm.
like getting paid. And it's difficult because every issue that pops up seems like it builds up and builds up.
Well, when it's new, first going into that situation, do you, let me ask you, Richard, do you feel anxiety when you go into those new situations?
Oh, yeah. In fact, if you really think about it, and I know that a lot of people on the spectrum, and Josh, I'm sure you can relate to this too, almost everything creates anxiety. That's just the way our brains work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, trying to figure out how to deal with that anxiety, to where you have a safe zone. So, like, when you get off work, when you come home, you have a spot where you can de-stress, no matter how long it takes. So, like, for me, I play on the computer and I play games.
Mm-hmm.
For you, Josh, it's reading. I had an autistic friend before she passed away that was, she liked the silence. She didn't like noise. So, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, any kind of sounds was disruptive to her.
Yeah.
So she liked the TV on, like, low, if she was going to have it on at all.
Right. Yeah. And when you go from what causes the most anxiety for you, or is the most uncomfortable? Is it the first contact that you have in, seeking a new position someplace, or is it the first day of that job, or does it all seem like it's the same thing to you?
It's all different, but the thing is like, I guess, because jobs all have that small talk, they have the same kind of functions, just like different software and different, people and different, dramas that you kind of walk into.
Right.
I did, come into it like on the first day, oh, don't talk to this person, that kind of thing. I mean, that's...
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, guys, for the ones that are younger, but, yeah, it doesn't stop after high school.
Right.
It keeps on going. It seems like, when you're in your 50s and 60s, they still act like they're in high school. And the only thing that you have control of is how you react to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you learn how to deal with that kind of situation, the better off you're going to be.
Well, how do you deal with it?
Depends on the situation, but like with drama, I just kind of take a step back from it. Don't get involved with it. Mm-hmm. If they don't like you, and if you don't fit into that crowd, then oh well. Mm-hmm. And if they fire you because of it, well, they don't need you. Mm. Yeah, obviously, they don't deserve you.
Yeah.
If they would, and I've been in that situation too. If they support those kind of people, mm-hmm. then that's where you don't need to be, because you have needs, and you need to stick with those, or you're going to be fried at the end of the day, every day.
Yeah.
Does it still take? Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
I know that with me, I completely agree that all the stress and anxiety inducing things are all different and feel different. Mm-hmm. To me, initially, they're all, how can I say this? They're all not equal in, not vibrancy, but in
intensity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's what really stresses me out is whenever I'm told a rule and people don't listen to that rule.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think your mom and I were talking about that the other day, where it's like, for some people, those rules apply, mm-hmm. and for other people, it doesn't. Yeah. So, but the rule's there, so you have to follow it. Or maybe, it's bent a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And
especially when it is someone who should obviously know better.
Well, especially when it's someone who created the rule to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I've run across that. You just kind of look at it and go, "Really, you created this?
Yeah.
This is only applied to a few people that are maybe out of the loop, but not the popular kid club." But
it is interesting that same dynamic that kids go through in middle school and high school continue on into the workplace often. And it just looks, everybody's just looks older. They're doing the same thing, but they just look older.
It's just as toxic.
Yeah.
Well, and it has some good news here. It's like it gets easier to deal with, because when you're younger, you're dealing with all these other things, like, the hormones and, going into that. But
it's true.
It's like, but your voice changing and, just.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as you're older, you also have more experience.
Yeah, so when you really step up and you learn how to, not just even deal with yourself, what makes you tick, what are your positives, what are your negatives, because everyone has them. And what can you contribute to the world?
Well,
what makes you happy, that kind of thing. And because the people that are like that are still in high school, who bully, who have to try to make other people miserable, are miserable themselves. Right. So you just feel sorry for them,
right,
and just realize that you don't have to put up with them.
Well, how do you handle the stress that comes up from a new experience?
Again, it really depends on the experience, but sometimes you just have to take a deep breath. Sometimes you have to rely on your own experience, of, oh, okay, so this loud sound, for example, won't kill me, but it will make things extremely uncomfortable for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'll name an example, like that retail job I was just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
In the back room, they had this piece of machinery that emitted this high-pitched sound. Now, it didn't bother anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it felt like someone was taking a nice stick to my temple, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time I'd walk by that, and I have to walk by that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it hurt
Mm-hmm.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just realized that, okay, I just have to get through this. I just take one step at a time. Realize that, you have this ability that other people don't have, and it's not going to affect people that way. So you just kind of roll with it and just get past that area as quickly as you can.
So I think that's I'd really like to hear what you would do in that situation, and what you did in that situation. So basically, you couldn't make the sound stop. You knew that it was going to affect you in a very uncomfortable way, and you knew that you had to go by that. And when that was happening, how did you feel when that was happening, but like right before that happened, and did you come up with a plan to help yourself to not be in so much pain when you would have to pass that?
Well, sometimes it's about just working through the pain. So, like for me, I didn't work in that area, so I was able to walk by it, and it was a temporary pain in a sense. But if I had to work in that area, I would have to figure something out. So basically, probably what I'd end up doing is get some earplugs
Mm-hmm.
and wear those, or talk to the manager and basically say, look, can you have me work in this other area rather than this one, because this is what's going on, especially if you're diagnosed.
Right. And so for you, fortunately, you're saying you didn't have to be near that all the time.
No, I just walked by it.
Okay.
So for me, it was just more of just getting through it, and if it bothered me too much, I just plug my ears
Mm-hmm.
and just walk by the area.
Yeah. Josh, have you had anything like that?
With sound and stuff?
Yeah.
I know that with sometimes whenever I would have to take tests and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes the other people writing, it would be
yeah.
dead silent except for the scratching of pencils on paper.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand that. It would... Ugh.
Do you
it's
know,
like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Yeah, because of you too, I know that using a pencil on paper is louder than a pen on paper.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you told me that a long time ago. I don't even remember that.
I don't remember
I don't know
that.
about louder. I think it's just a different consistency. Like,
It's...
for me, it's chalk on chalkboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's just like it just feels like it's kind of going up your spine in a sense. Just,
Yeah,
just thinking about it.
I know that with you, Mom, it's the high-pitched tones in music.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, that's true. But that's, yes.
With that, you just change a station or something.
Yeah.
But...
And it's, yes, my ears are so sensitive that I can hear like the higher overtones in music.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain genres that will really
blast that.
Yes, that's the focus. And so I can't, I can't handle that at all. I have to, if it comes on, I have to change it because it hurts my ears. But it's funny too because, so just to I don't know, Richard, did you hear a loud noise that was going on in here?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Thank goodness. Because we had this vent.
This low
buzzing and
it was coming from outside.
It wasn't. It was right up there.
I thought it was coming from right out
I
there
don't know.
and coming through the vents.
Oh, but it stopped. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I hope anybody else didn't have to suffer through that. Yeah. And so, one of the things that you said to me in one of our last conversations, Richard, is that you said that people on the spectrum will recognize when others are treated unfairly.
Yes.
And I think that that's really something that's is so true. Josh, I know that you get very upset when you witness somebody else getting treated unfairly.
Yeah.
You can't contain yourself.
I mean, a perfect example
It just makes you want to run around in circles, you know?
Richard, you don't appreciate that therapist very much, do you?
No. You know how I feel about bullies and stuff like that, and people who think that way. It's like, let me at them.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Oh my
so.
God.
I want to have a word with you.
That's so funny. In the complaint that I wrote up, I called her a bully. I called her out on that because that's exactly what I thought she was. So.
Yeah. But one of the, you had just asked something.
What did I just ask?
And then Richard responded with that joke. And now I can't remember what it was.
Do you know what I asked, Richard?
Oh my God.
I know, me too.
Between all three of us.
It's that, it was something about whenever others are treated unfairly.
Yes, right.
Yes.
And
I just got it the moment after you did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've noticed is that I can't stand it when that happens. I mean, the perfect example, that's what I was going for. The perfect example was movies. They're like sad comedies or whatever.
Right.
That you see the main character having all this hardship.
Yeah.
That is none of it's his fault, his or her fault.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I can't stand those movies.
Right.
I
Yes.
can't watch them.
I can't watch them.
I literally can't watch them.
Yeah.
What about books that are like that, Richard? Can you read the books?
I have a reading disability, so I don't read as much.
Okay.
So, and you know, the funny thing is, I think we talked about this once before, but it's like, you know, even getting through college, I really didn't crack open a textbook as much. So,
Because it's
it's not that I can't read; I actually read at a very good level. It's just, it's hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And one of the things about, for me at least, with reading and reading those kinds of things, it has a different feel to it.
Than watching it?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, with a book, you can put it down and come back to it later, if you really want to.
But also with a book, there's a certain point where your imagination takes it on, like your interpretation of the book. So, like, how many times has a book been written and it's an awesome book, and then they make a movie, and people go, well, that doesn't even look like what I thought that person looks like.
Yeah.
You know, the person they choose to play the role.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So I think like your interpretation, it leaves more room when you read a book. It leaves more room for interpretation.
Yeah.
I should say.
Well, it's what you're perceiving the tone of the book to be. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
when you read like one line or a sentence about what this character said, you know, Josh will read it one way and I'll read it another.
Yep.
And we'll have two different views on what the person and how the person said it.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's where trouble comes in sometimes with communication, is that when you say something and you can have as many people that hear what you say and they interpret it each in their own way. So even language that we use sometimes can make it so difficult. Do you find that when you go to new positions, Richard, that they all have their own type of language that they use, like words for, like you'll go into a restaurant or so you go into a store sometimes, and
it's like how Starbucks doesn't have like a large coffee. You know,
exactly,
they have to have the venti.
exactly.
That's all.
Or yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like every company is different, and they're all going to have their different methods. Some of it's going to be the same exact way, but it's going to be a different spreadsheet. It's going to be a different software. It's going to be different
names,
language altogether, because they're selling different things.
Yeah.
Or, So it's a matter of adjusting, even in a temporary position, as best you can. So, and realize that even being autistic, because I guess what people don't really understand sometimes, people consider autism to be a negative, like a deficit, in a sense, and it's not at all.
I agree.
And people need to stop thinking this way, because we think differently, period.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
I agree.
And for these people that have gone through this, it's like, I've been through, like when I was a teenager, I thought I was stupid. And it turns out that later on, I'm making I think I graduated from college with a 3.3 GPA.
Wow.
So,
that's impressive.
And that was,
especially for not opening books.
What was that you said, Richard?
Oh, I said I could have done better.
Oh, what?
It was just the way the cards fell, because it was my science classes, because I didn't take beginning science, and then I went directly in from no scientific background to basically studying the brain.
Wow. Well, Josh
and the chemicals of the brain.
Josh just said something.
That's really impressive, especially considering you barely open books.
Yeah.
Well, and I figured out the pattern that made it work for me. So I was able to pay attention to the PowerPoints and what did the teacher want. And a lot of college is just the regurgitation of the information. And
something that you're really good at, Richard, is you're really good at seeing what's coming down the road. And not, I don't think that's difficult for you, right, Josh?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Something happening, a situation is happening. Richard is has a very good handle on what that's going to look like. Not just in this moment, but down the road is meaning in the future.
Right.
That situation, that scenario, where is that headed? What does that look like?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and imagine that comes in. That's super, super helpful at work, because you can see where something is going without having to interpret what other people are saying about the situation.
Yeah, and sometimes, for me at least, it's difficult because I know where people are trying to lead a conversation or something. And it's frustrating because in my head I'm already there. And they're just meandering their way to that point.
Right.
This is why people should listen to us more. And I've been through that kind of same situation where it's like, even in the conversation, or like you said, if someone goes to do something, I see that there is something wrong with that, and I see the future outcome of it, and it's not good, and people still do it anyway. It makes you want to bang your head against the wall.
Yeah. That's one of the things that got me in so much trouble in things like group projects. I could see how things were going to work out. And I wasn't able to properly verbalize that, hey, this isn't going to work like you think it is.
Well,
Well, and you can even break it down to the point of, okay, there's the annoying smart one, the one that actually is going to want to start on this tonight, and wants group contact and is going to exchange phone numbers, and there's the lazy one right there, the one's going to do nothing at all in the project, and we're going to have to cover for him or her.
Yeah.
Well, so this is interesting. Yeah, this is interesting to me, Josh, because it is true that you. So I was glad that he said that I know that, learned that about Richard. And with you, it's interesting because I have a hard time knowing which one it's going to be. Do you need specific details and you get stuck on the detail? Or are you so far ahead of me that you're just like, you just need me to get out of your way so you can do what you're going to do? Right. I never know which one it's going to be.
I don't either.
Oh.
Most of them, I don't either. And it's not me being flippant or anything. I'm serious. There's so many different variables that can affect whether or not I'm able to be that far in the future,
right,
or not.
Yeah.
And I get hung up on one of the steps to get there.
Is there any difference in those two scenarios other than what we just described? One you get kind of stuck in, the other one you're good to go, you see what's going to happen, you see where it's headed. Is there anything that's different in those that you can pinpoint or no?
To be honest, what really happens most of the time, especially in group projects like I was saying, is that I see the finished product. It's getting to that point that I get hung up on the little things.
Okay. Right. What about you, Richard?
I'm a little confused on the question. If you could rephrase a little bit.
Sure. There are times when, like you shared, that you see what's coming down the road. And so there's times that Josh has that experience too. He sees where something is headed. He can already see the outcome. And then there are other times with him that he gets stuck and is not able to move through a particular situation or experience or step that he needs to take. So are you saying, Josh, that you can see it at the end but you don't know how to get there? Or you get tripped up getting there?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect example, the egg drop. I can see so many different ways to do it. The finished product of it working perfectly. Mm-hmm. It's the little things that throw me off. And then I get stuck on those little things. And I can't move forward.
Got it. Richard, do you get stuck on little things like he's talking about?
Sometimes. I've had a little bit more practice at letting go of certain things because, like, if it's for a group project and it's for a grade, I try to tend to be a little bit more pushy. Mm-hmm. If I really feel that if it's going to go bad. Mm-hmm. But, how do I describe this?
Because sometimes it's
like my brain's kind of frozen on that one because it's like...
Well, it might be too abstract. There are times when, I'm trying to describe something to Josh, and I'm not making it clear enough because it's too abstract, and so that's okay. I mean, I think that what you might be just very proficient at seeing where something is going to end up, and doing the things that you need to do, your participation in that to make sure that it, that you get to that end point. I
guess what I was getting at is it probably depends on the matter of importance. So if it really didn't matter as much, sometimes I just let it go and know that my way is probably right, but there could be more than one right way. And it may not turn out as well, or maybe you might be surprised. It might turn out to be better. Mm-hmm. You just didn't see it that way.
Right.
So... sometimes it's about letting it go and seeing what happens, in other words. And, if it fails completely, well, you already knew it.
Yeah. That is something that Josh, you struggle with sometimes, is letting it go and let it unfold the way it's going to unfold.
Yeah.
That's super hard for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I was asking about, Richard, is that those steps, do you get stuck sometimes on the steps that you have to take to get somewhere? Because Josh is very comfortable sharing that's where he gets that's where a lot of his troubles that he experiences come up. It's not that he can't see the big picture, but he has a hard time maneuvering the steps that it's going to take to get to
that final outcome.
Yeah. But I did want to say that there's people kids and adults are having to work remotely now. And are you doing that right now?
I'm in between jobs right now. I've had some job interviews that went pretty good, but again, companies are in chaos.
Yes.
This whole COVID thing has really made companies just disorganized.
Yeah.
They don't have their patterns. They don't have their systems. They don't have. So when you walk into a place, at least where I've been, the last temporary job, for example, they were 6 months behind, and the controller, which is like one of the main people, so they're basically in charge of all the finances, was going through. It was just took over, and it was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? So she hired temporary people, and we got her caught up. But but this is the way a lot of these companies are.
Yeah, I think.
Because COVID, so.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because people just had to do things in a way that they never even thought about doing it. And it just, so that's good to hear, that even though things are in turmoil, that at least that place was able to get back on track, and caught up. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It does feel like, things are beginning to open up again. Some places more than others. I think depending on who the governor is, some states are open while some are, still completely shut down. So,
yeah.
But I think that's like, that's just like, what was that?
And some are really open.
Yeah, that's true. Whenever I was talking to you before, I thought that you said something was super, super fascinating to me. And that is that when you're doing on the phone with somebody, whether you're working remotely or you're at work but you're on the phone, that you mimic and you mirror the tone that's on the phone, that's on that phone call.
Sort of, and you can call it a form of manipulation, but really what it comes down to, I consider manipulation is that you want to get things out of people. And if you only want to get happiness out of people, or to make things better or make things less challenging for them,
yes,
fine, call me a manipulator.
Okay.
But it's
okay.
So it's in a way it's like a manipulation. So it's like, if I use this in sales, for example, where someone comes up to me and they're raging.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, just console them in a sense. It's, oh, I'm sorry, you're feeling that way. You kind of lower your voice, into a calmer tone. Yes, we will try to, do our best on this. Explain to me the situation. I know that you had a rough time, with what you're going through. And so when you're talking into like a lower voice and a soothing voice, it soothes them. And then they start feeling like, okay, this person can start taking care of my problem.
Right.
So, and again, that's like a form of manipulation, but
yeah,
and again, it's more like you don't want to see this person upset and raging at you, or just raging in general. You want to see this person happy.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing, it's very what's the word? It's very, not depressing, but very
fitting.
Not satirical, but very I can't think of the word, but it's very, from a certain point of view, it's just talking with somebody can be manipulative for a person.
Are you saying like every conversation can be
manipulated? Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you're
true.
saying. Yeah.
And
right, I agree.
And so
but it's
from
not
that,
it's not like a psychopathic sort of way where, you're not manipulating to do your bidding in a sense. It's more of, it's something different. So yeah, you're right. Every conversation can be. But
right. So
one of the things I've learned through autism is like there's things that you do say, there's things that you don't, and that's where you come up with the mimicking in a sense, the mirroring.
Yeah.
I know that's more prominent in female Aspies.
Mm-hmm.
But
I hate that
that's one
term
of the
so
things
much.
I
hate the term Aspie so much.
It is true when you say that careful what the words used. The day after Oliver died, they had already had that day they had a scheduled appointment to go to the groomer. And instead of canceling Einstein's appointment, I just took him. And before I went, I had to go to the store. And they give you an option, when you go to a store, of getting cash back.
Mm-hmm.
So I got $100 cash back, but I did not need $100. So I needed it to be broken down. So I needed 5 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever form.
Right.
But just not $100.
Uh-huh.
So I went through the checkout line, and the guy was just rude to begin with. And I said I need $100 back, $100 cash back. So I did that. He goes to give me he gave me one bill that was a $100 bill, and I said, I need that to be broken down. And he goes, you said that you wanted $100. And so I don't need to say on this podcast the things that I said or what I did. But the managers came running over to me. And Richard, when you say to choose your words wisely, the wrong thing for them to say to me, which is what they said to me, was, ma'am, calm down.
Oh my God.
By the time we were done, I had like a crowd of customers near me shaking their heads, agreeing with me. That was
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about this.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because the day after he died, I was just,
Yeah.
I was just not.
You were very emotional.
I was emotional, yeah. And, I was getting this money to go pay for one dog instead of 2.
Yeah.
To be at the groomer.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So I was emotional. But the guy was just so... How many times you go and you get money back, you get cash back? Most of the times they ask you how you want it.
Yeah.
They certainly don't argue with you about it, that you have to take...
Yeah.
You have to... If they don't have it, they don't have it.
Right. That's
a different story.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're right, Richard, to choosing the words that you... They're going to lead to that outcome.
Yeah.
Like, that guy did not see what was coming down the road, Richard. that guy just said something and didn't realize what was coming. But,
well, that's when you smile and you ask for it all in ones.
Yeah.
I don't want it all counted out.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, what a jerk.
Yeah,
but that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's, and you don't know what this person has gone through in order to get to that situation, in order to confront you and they're, sad or freaked out or whatever, if you have an opportunity to make their life a little bit better and calm them down.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Calm down. Ma'am.
Oh, man. So you are searching for a job right now.
Yes.
And your wife owns her own business. And what's the name of her company? What does she do?
It's The Wolf and the Crow. So
The Wolf and the Crow.
And I know it's kind of an odd name, but that's
awesome.
what, like, she loves crows. I love wolves.
Okay.
So
okay,
our house is kind of decorated that way.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, she does edits dissertations.
She edits dissertations.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Does she have a website?
It's thewolfandthecrow.com.
Say it again.
Thewolfandthecrow.com.
Thewolfandthecrow.com. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's your
wife's...
wife's...
So if anyone's getting their doctorates, you could reach out to Sonya and get my information, and I could pass it along.
What's your wife's name?
Laura.
Laura. So people could go to the website that is thewolfandthecrow.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they can reach her that way. So if somebody's needs a dissertation edited, she's the one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, she's really good at it too. So
nice.
She's amazing. She puts a lot into it. So she's gotten many people her doctorates. So.
Wow.
Cool.
Very nice. Well, that sounds amazing. I love the name too. I do. I love that name.
Yeah.
Well, so is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today, Josh?
Not really.
Okay. How about you, Richard?
Well, I know that there's a lot of anxiety going on, and I've been concerned about everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Through this whole thing. And again, I know I'm doing okay, but everyone just take deep breaths.
Yeah.
We'll all get through this. Everything will be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what I want to say. It's there's just different times. You just got to roll with it, and know that you're loved out there.
No.
Yeah.
That's the best message that we can put out there. And I think that you're absolutely right. You know what? There's so many people right now of all ages that are going through having a harder time mentally than they've had before, and it's because of what COVID has done. We're talking today that COVID, because of COVID, you lost your job and are now doing temp jobs.
Not tempt.
temp jobs. I said it again just now. Temp jobs. But a lot of people are dealing with that anxiety that you're talking about and the stress, and they feel so unlike themselves.
Yeah.
And even if it is themselves, it's just really pulled thin. I mean, I hope that life goes back to us being able to get out and move around again and be around one another. And I have so many people. My last comedy show was February 18th of last year. And my friends I keep seeing them from them. They'll say, every day, I'll get a number of them. My last day, a year ago today, was my last day on stage. A year. So
oh, wow.
we're all, it's not just, and so the point with that is that, yes, people are out of work, but it's also the thing that fills people up is missing.
Yeah.
So
it's the human element.
Yes. That's not there. And so we're all suffering through that, and we're beginning to suffer more because, who knew? We need each other.
Well, and with people on the spectrum, it's a little bit different. Their needs are going to be a little different than that because, like with someone with myself, I'm actually dealing with this okay. Mm-hmm. The social isolation, I talk to people on the phone. That's kind of where I get my human contact from.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's like the only thing I really miss is sometimes going out to restaurants, and even then, I would have to time it just right to where it's almost like old people hours, in a sense where
Yeah.
you don't have to deal with the screaming children and the loud families and stuff like that. So it's because of the noise level and everything.
Right.
But it's like we can't do that anymore, and that's a little bit taken away compared to what the NTs are going through right now. So, in a sense, you're kind of getting a glimpse of what our world looks like.
Yeah, Josh said that to me before. When I go, man, everybody's just staying in their house, not doing anything, not going anywhere. He says, "Welcome to my world."
They can't see this, but I'm nodding. Yep.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Richard, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and on the podcast today. We appreciate you so much. And,
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
Glad to always talk to you.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. I love the insight and I love your humor. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So Richard, thank you so much.
Thanks,
for
Richard,
coming on the podcast today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Everybody, thank you for hanging out with us again today. We appreciate you so much. I hope everybody is happy and healthy and safe, and take care of each other. And we will talk to you next week. In the meantime, please go give us a 5-star review, especially on this podcast, because the amazing Richard was on here with us. I'm sure that's not going to be a difficult task.
Yeah.
If go to my website, sonyaking.com. It's SONYAKING, and you can check out the blog and past podcasts, past blogs. And we don't have anything on the schedule yet for speaking or for stand-up, because it's just not, everything's still shut down. So hoping one day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, everybody, take care of yourself. Love ya.
Bye.